What's up, everyone? Justin Melo and Justin Graver back again for another exclusive YouTube breakdown for the Music City Audible channel, and today we're breaking down the Senior Bowl roster, looking at the defensive side here as we prepare for a week of practices and the eventual Senior Bowl game down in Mobile, Alabama. We've already done our offense, so if you missed that video, check out our breakdown of the offensive players on the roster here, going through every position, looking at names to watch. We're going to do the same on the defensive side of the ball now. And Justin, let's start with the big boys up front. Start with the defensive line. And as a Texas alum, I got to start with two guys that are near and dear to my heart. What can you tell us about Byron Murphy and T'Vondre Sweat?
Actually, Byron Murphy's not in attendance this week, unfortunately.
Right.
From what I understand, NFL scouts are so high on him, much higher than the general public probably realizes, that there's not a whole lot for him to prove out there this week, which is really intriguing. So if you read my latest mock draft, which is available now on the draftnetwork.com, I handled our mock draft Monday this week. I got him going 11 overall.
Wow.
To the Minnesota Vikings. So Murphy's going high, I can tell you that. T'Vondre Sweat's a big nickname, Snacks, right? I mean, it speaks for itself. That's a big boy. Interior pressure, God, can you imagine trying to handle that power in the one-on-one drills? So really excited to watch him. I got a day 2 grade on him, an early day 2 grade. I think he's a second-round pick. Got to prove you can rush the passer with consistency when you're that mammoth of a man, right? We know the run-stopping ability, but in this league, you got to be able to rush the passer to get drafted highly. So he's got an opportunity to go down there and kind of show off that arsenal.
Any other interior defensive linemen? I guess a guy that I'm interested in seeing is Michael Hall Jr. out of Ohio State, but what other names you got on the interior of the defense?
Quick shout out to Dwayne Carter. Did an outstanding interview with him from Duke. The most, I said this about Spencer Rattler, but it's different. Probably the most organized, mature prospect I came across throughout that series. Was the only one that asked me what time zone I was on. Out of 52 guys, I got to send up follow-up texts. Well, you want to interview at 2 o'clock? Well, where are you in the world? You know what I mean? So with Dwayne Carter, he was very organized, versatile, played 0 tech to 5 tech at Duke. I think he's a 3 tech at the next level personally. Combined for 10 sacks across 2 years. I think the upside's even higher than that. Excited to see him. Another one quickly is Darius Robinson out of Missouri. Not enough love. SEC, 8.5 sacks this year in the SEC. Why are we talking about him more? Can play inside and outside. He's not a traditional edge. He's not a 250, 260. He's like 290, but he's got some nice wiggle to him, and he's got devastating power, and he's really good at setting the edge in the run game. Again, Dinoco Autry-like almost. Kick inside, kick outside. 8.5 sacks this year. Really a prospect that I really like.
Nice. All right, let's move on and talk about the edge position here. Who are some guys you're looking at? I know the UCLA kid is very highly thought of, potentially top 20 pick. Latu, I think maybe is how you say it.
Yeah, Latu is my top ranked edge in this entire class, right? Yeah. I mean, at least based on the tape, he's outstanding. Advanced hands, excellent motor, well-developed pass rusher. The questions on him is the medicals. I don't know that you're going to get those answers here at the Senior Bowl. Had to medically retire once upon a time, like Jalen Phillips once did, and that's turned out pretty okay, right? Still went in the first round. That injury he had this year is a freak accident, right? Achilles. It hasn't been a consistent injury thing with him. So if you get good medicals on Latu, I think he should be the first edge taken personally. Big fan.
Other names to watch here. I'm going to go with a small school guy here, throw it out there, because I think this is what the Senior Bowl is really all about for me, is guys getting a chance to go play with the big boys and prove that they can do it. How about the Troy pass rusher, Javon Solomon? Piled up 16 sacks, 18 tackles for loss this past season. You may have not had a chance to watch him yet because he's a Troy guy, but do you know anything about Javon Solomon?
Well, I know how excited he is to be in attendance because I did have that conversation, not with him directly, but someone that represents him. And he's eager to prove that those numbers aren't a fluke. You know, he wants to go down there and show that he can do it against anyone. And another one, I thought you were going to say Marshawn Nealon out of Western Michigan, right? Corey Davis went to, right? Once upon a time. That guy had about 5 or 6 sacks this year, helped his teammates get a lot of cleanup sacks because he'd kind of create and pressure and then someone would clean it up. That's another guy that could make some money this week.
I think the edge class is very interesting from the standpoint of there's no one that's super, like, there's no high-level blue chip,
Correct.
Nick Bosa, Chase Young level prospect. No Myles Garrett. There's not going to be a top 5, maybe not even a top 10 pick at the edge position this year. But there are a bunch of guys I feel like that could be intriguing, that could be sort of like Max Crosby mid-round type of guys that explode onto the scene. And I think a guy like one of those guys could be Kansas's edge rusher Austin Booker. He just has a really nice skill set. Have you had a chance to watch him yet?
I haven't, but it's funny. I probably will tonight or tomorrow. He's actually, I got a short list, a running short list that I write down all these names, and he's like number 3 on my list that I haven't got to yet. But there's a lot of intrigue about him. I don't know if it was ESPN published something recently, called him the most intriguing player in attendance. NFL scouts are very high on him, but they want to see him in this environment before they essentially confirm what they think about him.
So I think the one-on-ones between the edges and the tackles this year at the Senior Bowl are going to be really fun to watch.
Nelson Cesar from Houston's another one, by the way. They've been churning out first rounders, right? Logan Hall, Peyton Turner. He had, I think, 7 or 8 sacks this year. Nelson Cesar did. So another really intriguing kid with athletic, moldable tools.
Yep, I agree. All right, let's talk about the linebackers here, the off-ball linebacker position. Another one that's not super top-heavy in this class. There's not, the type of Roquan Smith level guys that are going to go super early in the draft, but the Senior Bowl is a place where they've got some good talent. Maybe some of the best linebackers in the class are at the Senior Bowl this year, so that's great to see. What can you tell me about NC State's Peyton Wilson?
Well, I was going to give you 2 names, and he's one of them because this is the counterpart to the tight end we talked about yesterday. It's not a great group overall. It's not a deep group, but Peyton Wilson is a guy that is linebacker 1 if he's healthy. A lot of injuries in his past, so that's the question. But he was healthy this year. When he's healthy, 120, 150 tackles every year, right? It pops on tape. I had a great time with him. He's just instinctive. He triggers downhill. He's smart. He's always around the football. The football IQ is just off the charts. Outstanding linebacker prospect if you don't have health concerns. The other one I want to talk about is not getting talked about enough. Very athletic, great blitzer. Maybe you can pull up the numbers. Is the kid from Kentucky, Trevin Wallace, is super athletic, rangy, sideline to sideline. I had the number. He had something like 7 sacks this year from inside linebacker, a bunch of TFLs. He triggers downhill. The big question with him is eye discipline, right? That's something that's got to get a lot better with him. But the ability to make plays in the backfield, the athletic ability are off the charts. If you're looking for a rangy, toolsy linebacker, you're going to find one this week in Trevin Wallace.
5.5 sacks last year, 7.5 TFLs. So yeah, definitely an intriguing name. 1 forced fumble, 1 interception. All right, Justin, let's talk about the defensive backs here, starting with some corners. We'll throw some safeties in here too. A really intriguing name to me is Penn State's Kalen King. This is a guy who last year, before the season started, he was thought to be, a surefire lock for the first round. Didn't have the best year, didn't put the best stuff on tape this season. What can you say about Kalen King?
Well, you said it. He didn't have the best year, right? So here's a chance for him to go down there and thrive in this environment, right? It's a competitive environment. Look, wide receivers have the advantage, in my opinion, in those one-on-one drills. Can you go out there and tip the scale, right? Can you go out there and make a bunch of PBUs, make good plays on the ball, start sort of rehabilitating that draft stock that took a hit during the season? So that's going to be the biggest thing for him, really. Can you make plays on the ball and convince people that maybe you didn't, meet expectations this year, but you still got that in you?
I'll throw a few more names at you. Small school guy who a lot of people are excited about. Could be one of the best corners in the class.
Mitchell.
But Quinyon Mitchell. He's got to prove he can do it against the high-level competition. What do you think of him?
First round grade right now, man. I'm bold enough to say it. A great size for the position. Thrives in press man. That's all they played at Toledo. Now, of course, the competition's a little different, right? So can you play press man against Xavier Legette? Can you play press man against Brendan Rice, right? A guy that wants to take the top off. So I think that'll be a big thing for him. Obviously, everyone wants to see him do it against guys that come from the SEC and the Big 10 and the Big 12, you name it, whatever. Can he do it against those guys? So a huge week for him. But as of now, I think he's going to live up to expectations. Like I said, I've got a first round grade on him. I had him going in the first. I think I have him to the Eagles in my latest mock draft. Certainly, they could use a young ascending defensive back. They don't got many of those on the roster. So definitely a guy I'm really looking forward to. I'll throw out one more name at you, and there's probably others we can go over, but
I got one.
It's not getting enough love. Is Washington State safety Jaden Hicks. A ball magnet, some pretty damn good ball production. A guy that I don't think people realize might be the first safety drafted. a lot of attention going on, the Miami kid. There's a kid out of USC that's really good. There's a Georgia kid in attendance, Javon Bullard. I'm excited to see. But Jaden Hicks, I think, is probably the best overall safety in the class. Tyler Nubin, Minnesota's another good one. Not there, I don't believe. But Jaden Hicks, really, really good kid. Very, very good chance. Even the back end around one, that's been the sweet spot for safeties lately, right? Lewis Sine went there, Dax Hall in recent years. And I think this is a guy that could certainly threaten for that 30 to 32 range.
Yeah, and he's a huge guy. I mean, listed 6'3", 215. We'll see what he actually measures at. One other name I'll throw at you, Notre Dame cornerback Cam Hart. Any thoughts on him?
I do. I like Cam Hart. He's got great size for the position. He seems to be very confident that he could play the nickel. So that's one thing I'll be monitoring this week. Can he convince teams that he can play the nickel? At his size, that short area quickness is going to be big, right? So can he keep up with the Ricky Pearsalls from Florida in one-on-ones? Can he keep up with Ladd McConkey out of Georgia? Can he keep up with Jaquan Jackson, who I gave a shout out to on yesterday's show, the Tulane receiver, former Tajay Spears roommate and teammate? So I think Cam Hart's going to have a good chance to show that he can do those things. But he's told me, he goes, I can play nickel and I'm going to prove it. I'm versatile enough. Well, now he's got to go out there and do it.
He'd be a pretty big nickel, listed at 6'2", 207. Again, we'll see what the actual measurements come in at the Senior Bowl. But again, tons of intriguing names here. I think these battles are going to be really fun to watch. The receiver class is so good that I think it gives the cornerbacks a chance to stand out if they can win some one-on-one reps against these receivers that we think highly of. And then same thing for the edge position and even the interior guys. There's just such a great offensive line class here with the tackles, with those centers we discussed on the offense breakdown, that it'll be cool to see if anyone can really raise their stock just by being so good against guys that we think of as good already based on their tape from these past few seasons in college. So is that it, Justin? Are we good with our Senior Bowl preview? And we'll be back next week to recap how things go?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. I think we've covered a lot of players over these last couple days. I've got great insight into everything going on down there. Really excited to see how it all plays out. A lot of excellent football players. I mean, Jim Nagy every year, him and his staff, just outstanding. So there's going to be a lot of takeaways. There's some offensive linemen we didn't cover. The Wisconsin lineman, Tanner Bordolino, I believe it is. Can't recall how to pronounce the last name, but he's a really good one that I've already watched on tape. The tackle from Michigan, Ladarius Henderson's got vines for arms, really good length. He's one, coming off a natty, really nice, polite, intriguing guy. So there are just so many good players in attendance. I can't wait to kind of get the takeaways. Starts tomorrow, right? I mean, it depends when you're watching this, but on Tuesday, first practice, Tuesday through Thursday. Friday's a bit of a lighter day. Saturday's the game. So it's going to go quickly, but can't wait to see it all unfold.
Yeah, so everyone stay tuned to this channel because we'll be back with more coverage of the Senior Bowl and all kinds of draft stuff leading up to April. Make sure you're subscribed to the Music City Audible. Again, if you missed the breakdown of the offensive roster, check out our other video that's up now for that. And we'll be back next week to recap all this. We're going to keep going with our Titans coverage as well, as we're going to hopefully have some names for the Titans staff that we can break down next week too. So make sure you're subscribed here. We'll be back when we see you. Until then, y'all stay safe out there and tighten up.
A Broadway sports media production.